Welcome to the Scottish Rite Journal podcast, an audio presentation of the Scottish Rite Journal, brought to you by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. This week's article is The Pillars of Freemasonry by Brother W. Howard Koop, 32nd degree, KCCH, and comes from the March-April 2017 issue of the Scottish Rite Journal. My association with Freemasonry began on December 23, 1952 when, at the age of 23, I became an apprentice in Lancaster Lodge No. 104 in Lancaster, Kentucky. After 63 years, I have come to a deep appreciation for every aspect of Freemasonry and that for which the fraternity stands. The fraternity of Freemasonry has blessed my life immeasurably, and over the years, it has led to many valuable relationships and experiences. Like any structure erected on earth by man, the fraternity of Freemasonry is what it is because of the pillars that support it, that is, the foundation upon which it rests. For 2,000 years, it has been axiomatic that a structure of any kind that is built upon the sand cannot withstand the raging storms. As if to withstand those storms, it must have a firm foundation. Freemasonry has survived for centuries because it is erected upon strong and substantial pillars. If you're a Master Mason, check out the Master Craftsman Online College, the premier education platform from the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Southern Jurisdiction. From Craft Lodge to Scottish Rite philosophy, visit www.mastercraftsmancollege.org for complete info and use promo code SRJ2024, that's SRJ2024 for 20% off any course. A pillar can be defined in two ways. It may be a column standing alone as a monument that has been erected to memorialize something of significance, or it may be a strong vertical column that is used to support a superstructure. As a 14-year-old boy, I was introduced to a class of world history about the Greek culture that existed many centuries ago. While I have forgotten much that was taught to us in that class, I do remember one thing: the three columns, the Doric, the Ionic, and the Corinthian, symbols of Greek architecture. The Doric column was strong and simple with a plain capital. The Ionic column was more elaborate with an inverted scroll as a capital. And the Corinthian column, the most elaborate of the three, had a larger and more ornate capital on which acanthus leaves were artistically carved. When I was in college, I took note of the fact that numerous buildings on the campus were adorned with Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian columns. Later, as my Masonic journey led me in search of more light, I had the good fortune to peruse through that old general history, cyclopedia, and dictionary of Freemasonry that dates back to 1868. During that perusal, I learned something important. Those three columns from ancient Greek architecture became symbolic of the pillars of Freemasonry: wisdom, strength, and beauty. After a further perusal of the Kentucky Monitor, I learned more about the pillars of Freemasonry and their significance. I learned that those pillars have a profound meaning. Wisdom is to contrive, strength is to support, and beauty is to adorn. But there is more. Wisdom is used to conduct the Mason in all of his undertakings. Strength is used to support him in all of his difficulties, and beauty is used to adorn the inward man. It is written that the universe is the temple of the deity whom the Mason serves. Wisdom, strength, and beauty are about his throne as pillars of his works. For his wisdom is infinite, his strength omnipotent, and beauty shines through the whole of his creation. During their Masonic journeys, Masons are taught numerous lessons. Some of those lessons involve, in one way or another, the construction of King Solomon's temple on the summit of Mount Moriah in Jerusalem between 958 BC and 951 BC. That temple was the most magnificent structure in the world at the time it was erected. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending upon how one looks at it. You and I were not there. That was long before our time. Therefore, we were unable to work day after day on that magnificent structure, along with Jubala, Jubilo, and Jubilum under the direction of Grand Master Hiram Abiff. But as Master Masons, we are workmen who are engaged in a most significant occupation. Robert McCoy, the Masonic scholar, wrote that the title of Masons was adopted from architecture, one of the most ancient and most honorable occupations of mankind. Although we, members of the fraternity of Freemasonry, no longer build temples and cathedrals of stone, we do build spiritual temples of character, temples of upright manhood and integrity. So, we are engaged in an honorable occupation that is never in our future Masonic life to be discontinued. Therefore, day after day and year after year without ceasing, Masons expend their labors for one purpose only: to raise a superstructure perfect in all its parts and honorable to its builder, supported by wisdom, strength, and beauty, the durable and reliable pillars of Freemasonry. The result of that Masonic labor is the construction of a temple more glorious than that of Solomon, a temple of honor, of justice, of purity, of knowledge, and of truth. That glorious temple shall exist when earth's proudest monumental piles shall have crumbled in dust, and the glory and greatness of earth have been forgotten. Then that Mason who worked upon that temple will have become an artist instead of a laborer, and his daily toil will have become a joy instead of a task, and his life will have become a blessing and inspiration to all of those who came in contact with him. The old house on Hedgera Ridge in the southeastern corner of Cumberland County in southeastern Kentucky, in which I spent my childhood, wasn't much. It shook when the wind blew. But in 1932, in the fourth summer of my life, my father decided to make a needed improvement by adding a chimney on the west side of that old house. I was just a little boy, and I don't remember much about that experience, but I do remember watching my father work day after day throughout the summer. He drew designs, gathered necessary material, and prepared a solid foundation. Then, with the ordinary tools of a mason, some of which still hang on the wall in my garage, a hammer, a chisel, a ruler or 24-inch gauge, a square, a plumb bob, and a trowel, he began the slow process of erecting that chimney. First, he took an irregularly shaped piece of stone bought from the quarry to the site, a rough ashlar, and shaped that crude piece of stone into a perfect ashlar. When the task was finished to his satisfaction, he used a square, a plumb bob, a trowel, and some mortar to place that perfect ashlar in the appropriate place. After much hard work, the end result was a chimney unlike all other chimneys I observed in the neighborhood. After 84 years, that old house is gone, and another one, more substantial, has been erected where it stood, and my father has been gone for almost 55 years. But that chimney still stands as my father built it, a tribute to his labor. The mortar joints are smooth, the corners are square, and the upright walls are perpendicular. Oliver Wendell Holmes, the New England poet, may not have been a Mason. However, he wrote some things that sound quite Masonic to me. In The Chambered Nautilus, one of his better-known poems, Holmes wrote, "Build thee more stately mansions, O my soul, as the swift seasons roll. Leave thy low-vaulted past. Let each new temple, nobler than the last, shut thee from heaven with a dome more vast, till thou at length art free, leaving thine outgrown shell by life's unresting sea." In order to build a more stately mansion, an indestructible temple more noble than the magnificent temple of King Solomon, it is necessary to follow 4 simple rules. Always remember and do one of the first things taught to every Mason in his Masonic journey. Number 1. Before any undertaking, large or small, pause and invoke the aid of deity. Number 2, after that humbling experience, rise and discern and faithfully follow the designs written upon life's trestle board for you by the Supreme Architect of the universe. Number 3, to the best of your ability, use the tools of Master Mason to shape rough ashlars into perfect ashlars and lay those perfect stones in place with care. Number 4, then always build your temple on the solid foundations of wisdom, strength, and beauty, the age-old pillars of Freemasonry. Like and share this article, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you wish to comment, please leave one, and as a reminder, hit the notifications bell. Any accompanying photographs or citations for this article can be found in the corresponding print edition. The Scottish Rite Journal is published by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. Mark Dreisenstock, 33rd degree, Managing Editor. I'm your host, Matt Bowers.